Welcome to the Bagchucker podcast, where we break down life on the road in the NHL.
We're your hosts, Chris Mason and Hal Gill, a.k.a. Mace and Skillsie, former NHL players, current broadcasters for the Nashville Predators, lifelong Bagchuckers, dads, brothers, and sons. We've seen it all from the bus rides to the big leagues.
Each week, we'll dive into what's going on around the league. We'll give you travel tips, places to go, things to do, and stories from years of living out of a suitcase.
What do you say, Mace? Lobby in 10.
Just chuck your bags and let's go. All right, welcome back to the Bagchucker podcast, episode 3, about to commence. Chris Mason here, a.k.a. Mace, with the godfather of Chuck. As always, Hal Gill, Skillsie. Episode 3, bud. We got two in the bank here. What's your thoughts? How things been going here so far?
It was good. Last time I led the way, and that was a new thing for me. So it was fun. It was a lot of pressure on me, but I feel like it worked out, and you held my hand through it. So I appreciate it. But it's fun. We have, I think, obviously. We're tackling a lot of things, and so we're ripping through it, and there's a lot of things we have to dive back into, right? I mean, like last episode, we hit on a lot of different things that we got to dive back into those things. So we have some work to do. We have some content to get through, and I'm excited.
Well, full disclosure, this is a redo of our episode 3 because we did it. It was probably about 50 minutes, and then we're learning as we go, as Skillsie said it, and you hosted very excellently.
I think you muted me on purpose.
Oh, I didn't. I tried every single way, but we didn't have Skillsie's audio. We had the video, my audio, all this stuff, and I'm like, oh my god! And it was actually, I thought it was a really good episode. But what we're going to talk about today.
Well, first of all, Mace, before we get into what we're going to talk about, can we talk about this?
Oh yeah, we got this.
Look at this handsome guy.
This guy,
the Happy Beard Company, which. You in not so great shape with your hat on, with that beautiful beard. So tell us about the Happy Beard Company. I want to know what's going on.
Well, it's something that I worked at, and I'm still working at all summer long. I've actually filed the LLC stuff, and I've done all that. And it happened. It started at the end of the season. It was in playoffs actually, and I'm just I've tried every beard product under the sun, all the oils, all the everything, the combs, the waxes for your mustache and everything. And I've just never found anything that I absolutely just love or have been like, I have to have that. I have to use that. It's just the best. There's a lot of great ones out there. Don't get me wrong. There's a couple that I really, really like, but I'm like, why can't I make my own? So all summer I tried to formulate my own with all like organic oils, coconut oil, argan oil, almond oil, all things.
Climbing the highest mountain to find the rarest.
I personally climbed actually Memphis. I saw where the Smurfs live and extracted some of their mushroom house oil. No, just that was terrible. But no, I just tried to like make my own. And it was so I use it like that's what I use every day. I actually use it on my skin because I don't use any like moisturizer cream or anything like that. And I actually use that on my skin for the last like 3 months. And now my next step, I've got all the website ready to go. It's not active. I've got product labels designed, obviously the logo. I've got that sign up there. We got to get a Bagchucker one now that we got the pod going, but I use it every day, and I just need to find somebody, a big, I think it's called a black label or there's white label, same thing, where they make your product in bulk with the ingredients you want, and then, they can mass produce it. So that's my last step, I think, before I actually try to go live with this thing. And I'm just going to do it, slow play it, because I've never done anything this kind of like the podcast we're on. So I'm just going to, whatever, go slow, and we'll see what happens.
I'm not a very big product guy, but after looking at your beard, I want to grow a beard just so
you got the best.
I want.
You're the man Santa. Of November. I'll tell you that.
I'll get the duster going. I can use the happy beard on my duster come November.
That sounds great. Well, you got the flow going too. You got it all. If you want to grow the beard, you can. I think you're just a modest guy.
I got a little bit of flow. This summer, my flow got out of control, and I could have used some product in there.
Well, thanks, buddy. We'll keep that.
Well, good luck with that. I will get some updates as we go, but I'm excited about the happy.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll keep you updated, and we'll get all the promo codes and stuff going on here, and send some packages out to the boys to see if they like that and all that stuff. But we'll keep you up. But episode 3, our main focus today is we wanted to talk about the battles at Preds camp, and mostly with the forwards. I feel that's where there's a couple spots and a couple really players to keep an eye on. It's tough in the NHL now. There's not a lot of teams that really have a lot of open roster spots unless you're, in a full rebuild, Anaheim, those types of places that are really looking to, give the youth a chance. You got a lot of guys that are in the minors and a lot of good prospects in the Preds organization. But Skillsie, you've been on, you've seen a couple games on the road too. You've covered those games on the radio with Max Hers 102.5 The Game. Give me your thoughts. This is how I narrowed it down. I'll leave you with the 4 players. There's only 15 forwards left in camp. So to me, the 4 players that are fighting for 2 spots and then 1 extra if they keep an extra, ZachL'Heureux, Jusso Parssinen, Phil Tomasino, and Ozzy Weisblatt are the 4 guys that I look at that are battling for those last 2 spots. And I will say this going in, and we'll go player by player and kind of what they have to do, because this is important now in the NHL. Obviously, Jusso Parssinen has to clear waivers. Phil Tomasino has to clear waivers. Both of those guys are on 1-year contracts. ZachL'Heureux does not have to clear waivers. Ozzy Weisblatt does not have to clear waivers. So that goes into the equation, in my opinion. But let's start with Jusso Parssinen.
Well, Mace, can we just go? Let's just so everyone is aware. Like, this is how we set it up, right? Look at let's go through the first line. Obviously, Phil, O'Reilly, and Nyquist banged it out last year.
Yeah,
they're together. Novak had the happiest summer of his life, and it looks like he's going to center Stamkos and Marchessault. Never saw that coming, but he's a happy kid, and they look good, real good. So then you have Sissons, which looks like Evangelista on his line, which adds a little offensive side to Sissons, which should be fun to watch. Now we're looking at, okay, who's going to be on his wing? Is that a Tomasino spot? You got to, but Tomasino is in that mix. He's got to prove himself. You have McCarron, Smith, Jankowski that are going to be in the mix, whether they're moving in or around. McCarron, I think, is just that big, awesome 4th line center. Cole Smith, kind of same idea as a forward. Kind of, you need those guys in the lineup, I think. Jankowski can go up and down the lineup, right?
Yeah.
So we all agree on that. We know these guys. We know what they're all about. The question is, you brought up, is the 4 guys. So Tomasino, he's got it right there. Can he grab it? I think that's the question. Do you think he can step it up after getting sent down to the American League? And I think he played well there. He went through a battle in the playoffs. Do you think he's ready from what you've seen and from what I've seen? But do you think he's ready to make that jump where he's a consistent NHL forward?
I think that's a big thing. And so let's start with Tomasino, because I feel if I'm looking back at his last season, ultimately, as you mentioned, he got sent down. I thought he made some big strides during the year where I thought he really committed to learning the defensive side of things, the battle areas, how to be more effective. Obviously, we've talked about Ryan O'Reilly and his impact on the Nashville Predators, especially the young players. Evangelista, Tomasino really, got on board, and they were all about it and trying to, improve that part of his game. The part where I think Andrew Burnett had trouble with Tomasino at the end of the year, going down the second half, which is either you can't afford to lose any points and, maybe put a player in a situation where he doesn't trust them in completely, or, if you get icing and all that kind of stuff. Was the defensive side of things, was the consistency, I think, with Tomasino. But I also see a player that came back to camp having had that experience. And I know a lot of fans had an issue with him being sent down. I personally thought it was the best thing for him. I think you did too. Just for him to be, go down to Milwaukee. You're going to be a leader. You're going to play in every situation. You're not going to play 10, 13 minutes a game if you're playing good. You're playing 20 some odd minutes. You get a chance to be, a prime contributor every single night, and you get to play. You have that playoff run that they had in Milwaukee, which was invaluable. But having said that, I've seen him come back as a different player, and every player, whether somebody tells you that, hey, you're good enough to play in the NHL, you have the skill set, you have all this, until you actually believe that in every aspect of the game. Because as you know, when you get to the NHL, every single detail, you're watching things in the defensive zone, and maybe your guy didn't score the goal against or whatever, but maybe because you weren't in position this far, or your stick was on the wrong side for 2 seconds. Sometimes you're like, oh my God, really? Press play on the clip.
And it might have happened 30 seconds before the goal, but you could have snuffed it out right there.
That matters. And I think as a young player, you don't understand that because you've had success at every level. And in junior, you're scoring all the goals. He's obviously a first round. He's got awesome, incredible offensive talent. But in the NHL, in order to use that, all those things have to be done to get the puck back, and you know how it is. My point, I think Tomasino's come back. He believes that he should be here now. I think he understands the demand and the pressure of being an everyday NHL player, not just a young kid that got called up. And it's okay if you have a couple bad games and 3 good games. You're young.
Yeah.
He's not in that category anymore. Not on this
team. You can't have a couple bad games. They got to find people that are going to be consistent.
That's my rant on Tomasino. What do you think of his game so far?
All right. So, you know what this situation reminds me of is when I was in Montreal, I think probably 2010, around there. There's a young player coming up, Max Pacioretty, and that
Patches O'Houlihan.
Looked like he was going to be in the lineup. Looked like he was going to be in the lineup. And he came out to the media with his agent and said, if I'm not playing top 6, send me to the American League. Send me down to the minors if I'm not top 6. And I remember looking at it going, who the hell does this kid think he is? That I'm too good to be bottom 6. I want to be in the top 2 lines. Who does he think he is? Now I'm like, wow, he was way ahead of his time. He knew, I need to play. I need to play big minutes. I need to have confidence. I can't go out there and grind out 8 to 10 minutes a night and be the player that I'm going to be. And look, I mean, he's become one of a great players in the NHL over the years. Just power, speed, strength. He's kind of a good mix and had a lot of success in a long career. But it started out like, I got to be down and I got to play and I got to have confidence. So that's where I think Tomasino maybe got that step. Now we just have to see if it tracks. Yeah. It looks like he's better watching him in Carolina. He has moments where you're like, ooh, he's getting it. And he's finding spots where he can get open and make plays. I want to see him have a little bit more drive. If he can have that and if he can bring that consistently and play, Bruno's going to talk about pace. If you want to play in Andrew Burnett's system, it's got to be with pace. It's got to be moving up and down the ice fast and thinking fast, not just skating fast, thinking fast. And so I think he's got to take that up a tick. And if he does that, he's going to have success. So I think he could be that guy. If he wants it, I think he could be that guy that plays with Sissons and Evangelista. And that would be similar to a top 6. That's a third line that could teeter on second line if they get going. If you get a big season from Evangelista. You have the reliability of Sissons, and then
Yeah,
you have
and it would
Tomasino.
have been a second line last year, right? Like now we have the second line that you talked about, which is as you mentioned, Novak's probably thinking, wow, I got these two guys that are 44, 40 goal scorers. One's a Hall of Famer, two Stanley Cup champions, and I think Novak's the perfect guy to be able to distribute and hold on to pucks and bring that coverage in and open it up for the guys that are driving and shooting. But
As a beautiful
yeah,
segue to that, I really like Jusso Parssinen and the way he's playing. He looks like he's got another gear this year, a little faster, maybe a little bit stronger. He in Carolina again. He scored a goal, helped out on another one. Battling, he used his body really well, drawing penalties, defended well. Could he be that? Could he play wing with them? And now you're adding some size. So that's my question: is can Tomasino beat out a guy like Jusso
yeah, and
Parssinen?
that's this is the interesting thing because I think Parsonen, when he came up as a rookie or when he first came onto the scene, you're like, oh my gosh, this kid he's 21 years old. He's just an absolute beast. He's taken on, NHL veteran power forwards and knocking them down in the corner, going through his legs. Just he was like this, there's not that many guys that have the ability to skate like he does, to handle the puck. He's actually a really good playmaker. He drove.
Filthy mitts too. He scored the through between the legs.
Remember was
Top
that the one where
shelf.
Trouba almost absolutely railroaded him? He got by that.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was his first
yeah, it was
shift in the
crazy, right?
NHL.
So he's got Trouba coming. The kid was fearless. But then, you go, this is what happens though. Reality sets in. You have the summer to think about it. You come back as a sophomore or your second year, your first, full year where all of a sudden, okay, well, you did this last year, kid. Now you got to, let's back it up and do it again. And I think to me, he just didn't have maybe the confidence that he had. He started out his first game. I think he scored 2 goals in Tampa or 1 goal or whatever it was. It was a highlight reel goal. And then all of a sudden it's the everyday pressure. Okay, well, you did that good, but that's not what you're looking at on tape. You're looking at all your things that you didn't do defensively or this or that. And it mounts. And all of a sudden you have that thing. Am I good enough to actually play in this league?
Just that
Now
little second guess.
you have pressure. You have pressure every night.
Maverick said it. If you think out there, you're dead.
Exactly.
Right? That was Top Gun.
Yeah, exactly. You have to react. That noise, that's whatever points, fractions of a second of hesitation. The play's over. It's dead. You can't make the play anymore. The NHL is too good. You just have to go out there and play because he has the skill set and he is an absolute beast. He didn't shoot. He deferred to the veteran players. He'd always try to pass too much, in my opinion. He would turn back up the wall instead of driving the net, getting a little bit of position, and he's so strong. Drive to the net, attack the net. Who cares if you don't score? Drive the net. Someone else will come in behind and get that rebound.
Draw a penalty, get it there, clean it out. He's a monster. So, and he changed his number to 13.
I think he did it mostly in honor of you, though. He's like, I can't wear Skillsie's number. There's only 175.
Yeah, he knew it was going to be in the rafters at some point. So why keep wearing it? He's going to have to change. But he does give me with that 13. He does give me.
It's an attitude.
His Sundin vibes. He's got that the same build, and if he can play the way Sundin did, that would be a lot of fun to watch. Just a big lefty Sundin going out there, ripping bombs and being a beast to play against. Really hard to play against. If he can do that consistently, he's going to have a great.
I think he will. I think he has all the intangibles to be, a special player. I think a lot more players in today's game have the speed, have the skill, have the hands, just the way that they're trained. They all can do these amazing things given time. Now, the trick with the NHL is, can you actually do it? How many times have you seen kids in camp before and you're like, oh my God, who is this guy? He's unbelievable. He's scoring left and right in training camp and maybe a couple of games in the preseason. While the regular season hits or the end of preseason, you disappear just because you can't do it because guys are bearing down and but Parsonen's one of the guys that can do it. And all the knocks I had on him, and they're not knocks. It's just development. It's part of growing. I mean, he's still 21 or 22. Yeah. I mean, he's a kid. He's a kid. But this year coming back, he is driving the net. He's shooting on these chances. He'll cut to the middle now and put a puck on net. where I feel like last season he would have turned up and looked to pass it off to somebody else. He's not afraid of anybody. He'll go in there, and I love that too. And he'll stand in there too after he knows he made contact with somebody. He'll stand in there. Obviously, he's not a fighter or anything like that, but he'll stick in there and he'll keep his nose around the goalie if he's, jamming the net. And this year, I see a different confidence in him.
Yeah. How many times you talk to a scout and he needs to get to the interior? That's the big thing, right? He's got to go to the hard areas. If he's a perimeter player, no one's looking for that. And if you're going to be that guy, you have to be really good. You have to be really good at it. Most players need to get there, need to get dirty. And Parsonen, I think, can do that. We'll see. He's going to dictate where his career goes, obviously, but a bright future for sure. Another guy that gets to the interior, ZachL'Heureux. I want to get your take on him. Is he close enough to make an impact?
I think this is not coming from me. This is coming from people in the organization. Mark Borowiecki, one of them, who goes down and works with Milwaukee. Scott Nickel. The review on him.
Great development.
Great.
Crew
just great. And it's good mentors for the players too. Gerber. I mean, there's no better guys too, like, that have been through the battles of Borowiecki on and off the ice. But you go watch some of his fights, and Scott Nickel, the same thing. He's 5'8" or whatever. He'd take on anybody. He was like one of those kind of guys. But so I think that gives a lot of credibility, when you're trying to mentor young players. You did the development with Florida too, and you get the respect not only from your hockey playing, but the way that you played the game. And I think ZachL'Heureux really came into his own on the offensive side of things last year. I think they have said that he's probably the most ready of the prospects, when you're talking about Joachim Kemmel and Svechkov and all the guys that are first-round talents. They have work to do maybe in other parts of their game. But I think LaRue established himself as a player that can score, that can be an agitator, that can penalty kill. He's a great penalty killer, that can kind of handle all those types of things that you really needed him to work on in the minor league level. But the fact that he doesn't have to clear waivers, you can just send him down. And I still don't think that he would be the right guy to maybe be on the roster opening night, just because you're not going to get the kind of ice time. Again, it goes back to Tomasino. What's more beneficial for him long-term? Is it to play, or is it to make the NHL roster, even though he could, play in the NHL with the skill set and the way that he plays the game? It's better to go back and play. So I think he could have had the best camp ever. I think he's really effective. I think he's got those intangibles too, with the agitation and just kind of knowing that balance. But I think he'll likely start in Milwaukee. And I do think that's the best thing for him. Although we could see him at some point this year. We probably will.
Yeah, I think he's close. And you're talking about, I hated when people talk about players as assets, but you want to manage your asset, right? Like, you have a good player, you don't want to throw him in too soon in a situation where he can't succeed. So I do think he's right there. If he gets that little bit of confidence, what I really like about him is his low play, right? He can get on the boards, behind the net, grind, and bring it to the net and kind of get his nose in there like a Matthew Tkachuk.
Exactly. That's a great comparison.
That little gritty, but with a skill element, not just going in there pushing around for no reason, like trying to score goals, but get in there and stir it up a little bit. So I think he's a guy that I want to see more from, to be honest. I want to see it. I want to see it actually happen, and I think he's right on the cusp of it. I don't know, just watching him in Carolina, a little confidence. He looked a little quick with the puck. Like, if he can extend it a little bit more, that's what Brunette is looking for, is extend plays. Don't just throw it away. There's a play to be made, extend it or battle it out. And so I think he needs to do that a little bit.
And more. You got to keep in mind too. And I don't know what you're like. Maybe I think we're obviously different in a lot of ways. We're similar in a lot of ways, but when I was a young player, kind of like I would say Parsonen last year and maybe Tomasino, these guys are probably thinking, "Oh, like, what do I gotta do? I gotta do like a million things," and your mind's going like this, and ZachL'Heureux's probably he
Yeah.
realizes, he hears probably some of the same things that we're saying from, people within the organization and your agent and, all these types of things. You're there. You're right there. You're close. And so you're thinking, "Okay, I can't do this. I gotta do this." You're not like you said, you
Yeah.
think you're dead. You're done. You're overthinking a little bit, and it brings on that hesitation, and then you just can't play your full game, your true game, because you're thinking about it too much. And I feel like I agree with you. I think that he's probably in that category too. And I saw that at the rookie tournament when they wanted to turn it up and he wanted to turn it up, he did. But he's kind of in a different
Yeah.
situation. He's like, well, he's thinking about getting a main camp and do it against the NHL guys, and that's right. But at the same time, when you overthink things when you get there, you just can't be, as effective, I think, as you are, especially a player like him, because he is one of those guys. And we all know those guys, Steve Ott, Sean, in our day, Steve Ott, Sean Avery,
Yeah.
all the guys, Matthew Tkachuk, and even Brady to that extent. But those guys that just get in there, they're going to do it. They're going to get in your face. I know I'm going to cover a puck and I'm going to get pitchforked by whoever. And they
Yeah.
still
There's
piss you
always
off.
something.
They just have that ability. They get in there,
Yeah.
they got that look on their face, and and they'll back it up. And he's one of those guys too that will do it.
Yeah, we played with one of the best in
Oh yeah,
Patrick
Horny
Hornquist, right?
was yeah.
Like, oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. I speared you in the neck again. Oh, sorry, I speared you in the groin. Oops. Is that my butt end?
And he would,
I'm sorry.
he's like,
Sorry.
oh, how did I get mad at this guy? I actually respect how he plays, but he turned around and he butt ended me in my
Just
mask, and
always
my
up in
mask's over here. I can't see the puck. And oh, sorry about that, Mace. Sorry about that. And he did in
Oh,
practice too
sorry.
when I played on the
Sorry.
team with him. And I love
All the
him.
time.
God, I love that guy.
Yeah, he didn't care.
He's amazing.
uh, well, you know what? You gotta bring. What did they say? That you got to dance with the girl you brought. That like you have a skill set and you have what you do, and you have to do it well. And I'll give you a little story time with Skillsie, the young Skillsie playing his second year with Pat Burns in the Boston Bruins, and I'm feeling pretty good after 2 or 3 games. I had a goal and 3 assists, something like that. Like good numbers for Skillsie. I'm feeling pretty good. Pat Burns calls me in the office and he goes, "How do you think your camp is going?" I said, "Feeling pretty good, coach. Like I feel like my game's coming around." And he's like, "What'd you work on in the off season?" I'm like, "Well, like I wanted to get bigger, faster, stronger, like all the things. And I wanted to add some offense to my game, and I feel like it's going well so far." And he goes, "Well, knock it off. I see you out there trying to look for all the pretty plays and you're making the passes and you're looking for apples all over the place. And I need you to get it out of the zone. That is your number one goal." And I said, "Well, the guys are like, hey, can you put it on my tape? Can you pass it to me? I don't care what the guys say. Get it out of the zone. That's your job. If you don't do that for me, then you're going down to Providence." And I was like, okay, good, good summer. I felt pretty good about my game, but he wanted what
Yeah.
he could count on, right? And that's what coaches want: consistency. Thank God those days are over where guys make plays now and you're not stuck in too much of a role. But I feel like when you look at LaRue, you expect something every night and you need to get that every night. And I think that's what all these guys, Parsonen, all the way up and down, is you need consistency and you need to know what you can count on. If you get better over the years, great. But you need to be counted
And I think
on.
that's the thing that, people don't always realize, even though, let's say if you're looking, from a fan perspective, or you're watching a game and Tomasino has, 2 breakaways, or Parsonen's getting good offensive chances. And yes, they have that ability. They have that offensive ability, but can you trust them in a situation where it's a 1-1 hockey game and all of a sudden, it's an icing and they're in the defensive zone, and maybe they scored that game, but that's the play that cost you the game. And yes, everybody makes mistakes, but it's eliminating and really, trying to minimize that as much as possible, to be able to trust a player in that situation. And as a young player, that is probably, especially if you're not going to play on the top 2 lines, or maybe you are, that's probably more important than the offensive side of things.
Yep.
To be able to stay in the NHL, it's like we can't give anything away.
100%.
We can't give anything. And to your point, so you're lighting up training camp and you're thinking, man, this is I might be on the power play this year. Like, no, this is what we're gonna,
I
yeah,
wasn't
well,
going
I
that
know,
far.
I'm just, but the defensive side of things and being able to understand the responsibility in the neutral zone and, reading forechecks when team is successfully on a good forecheck and you're going to jump in, or do you stay back when you recognize that they don't have pressure on the puck carrier, so you got to back out and be a great supportive, F3, which is boring and something you don't necessarily see on the camera. But when you're breaking down video the next day after you just lost 2-1 in the last 2 minutes or 5 minutes of a game,
Yeah.
you see that and you see it over and over again, and you're the guy, and you have to eliminate those things. And
If I can't trust
I
you, I
can't play
can't
you.
play
That's
you.
exactly right, and they won't. And
Yeah.
we've seen like how
Yeah.
important, the last every single game. You're making the playoffs. It's 1 or 2 games during the season, and the
Yeah.
Predators might be in a different situation
Yeah.
this year. But now you're talking about winning a division. You know,
Yeah. Last guy, Ozzy
I like
Weisblatt,
this guy,
the crazy train.
Calgary,
Ozzy.
Alberta. He's a
I like
Western
him.
leader.
I tell you what, he's got a grind in him. He's not a big guy. Was he 5'10", 180,
Yep.
something like that? He can grind. He's got some speed. He attacks the game. He's in on the forecheck. He's stirring it up. I saw a little bit of excitement in his game. He
Yeah.
energizes you. Now I don't know where he stands, and I know they're looking at him, but it's kind of fun to
He's
watch
really
him
fun
play.
to watch, and I thought he really caught my eye last year in the playoffs for Milwaukee. You start hearing his name, and he
Yeah,
was on loan from the Sharks, and that's kind of rare, I think, in hockey now. But he was on loan. The Predators ended up officially trading for him for Igor Afanasyev, who is a prospect that I think most Preds fans know, that was given some opportunity. And
I
I
really
did
wanted
too.
him to
I
make
did
it
too. I
pop.
thought he could be a little more.
I thought
I
he was
think he's
good.
good.
I
He
just
just
never came
never,
around.
he didn't play the big man game. He just couldn't take that next step where you're like, oh,
Yeah,
we need this kid. He's a great guy, but he'll have maybe a better opportunity in San Jose, I hope, because he's a great kid and all that. But
yeah.
Ozzy's
So
been
Ozzy,
awesome. I think he's like you said, he just gets in there. He's like he reminds me of Kiefer Sherwood, the way that he kind of
yeah,
he's just hunting pucks down. He's in there every time.
all
He's
got a
making
bone.
contact on everybody every chance he gets, and it's just a high energy, never stop kind of a game. So I think he's a guy that, at some point during the season, I think that's why he's still here. He's being rewarded for the camp that he's had and the finish that he had last year. There's a lot of players maybe talked about it. I don't even know if he was on the radar as a guy that would be competing for a spot. There was Svechkov. I know he got hurt, and Kemmel, but Weisblatt's, he's earned this spot right now to be here competing for that job. So I like him. I think he's definitely a
Yeah.
kid to keep an eye on for this season.
Well, yeah, we'll see how this shakes out. I think it's going to be interesting, that bottom six. But last year we were talking about this. Who's our second line?
Yep.
How are we going to get secondary scoring? I, safe to say that problem is solved. It's a good conversation to have. Really, 3 or 4 guys that I think could help out and be good on a bottom
Yep.
six.
And we'll see him at some point.
So a good problem for the Preds leading into the season, and we'll see how.
And we're going to see
out.
these guys at some point, right? Like it's impossible almost, I think, for NHL rosters to stay healthy. So, and that's what they're playing for. When you come to camp, it's you do everything you can to make the roster, but that you want to be that first call up. And more of that too is these guys how are their attitudes when they go down? Do they continue to play like that? It's easy to do when you're in NHL camp and you can see the way they fly, the way like everything's just the best, right? And then you get set down. It's a letdown. It's tough when you feel that you're there or you're right there and you could have made the team and you don't. The guys that get called up.
Yeah, you go from having shrimp on the plane to having the soggy sandwich in the back, and you start to think, they screwed me. I should have had
some do exactly, exactly.
And you got to embrace the grind, or else it's going to be a long.
And what do you think the first question is when let's say Bruno is calling down to Carl Taylor to say, hey, how's his attitude been? How's he been lately? Like he had a good camp, all right. Let's say that's 2 months ago. Well, it doesn't matter anymore. You showed. How did he take it? Is he being a leader? Is his attitude good? Yeah, he's good. Okay, all right. He's our guy. If not, pick someone else.
I didn't take it well, Mace.
Well, you're a Providence.
I went on a West Coast swing. I got sent down and I played 4 games in Providence, and I was there for a week, and I was not
Yeah.
happy. I didn't know how everything worked. I was a fish out of water. I
6 years,
thought
bud.
I didn't know what life was
6
all
years in the
about.
minors, bud. Bussing.
Yeah, it's a they call it a jungle
Yeah,
for a reason. It's the
it
jungle. It's
is.
tough.
It
It's a
is. It
battle.
is. But it's, I
Yeah.
mean, obviously it worked out for you, but you
You
got to
gotta
pay
pay
your
your
dues. And
dues.
I was realistic with where I was at in my career. That's why. So I was like, I knew I had to go to the minors to get better because I wasn't good enough to play in the NHL. But
And I think I would have been a better offensive player if I
yeah,
did go to the minors. Defensively, I fought every day to be a good defensive player, but if I got some confidence, I'm not saying I would have been good offensively, but I would have been a better passer,
yeah,
better player.
you,
I could have contributed more if I did play
yeah.
more
Well, you're
games in the
talking about
minors.
Pat Burns telling you, you get the puck out
Yeah,
of the
he
zone.
said, "Don't
Yeah,
pass." He literally told me not to pass. Like,
that's unbelievable. Uh,
just get it out.
Gill it
Gill
out.
it out, kid.
All right, so let's before we move on to our last thing here, quickly, we talked about all the players there. Jankowski in the mix, who had an unbelievable year. I thought he was one of our most
Yeah.
underrated, most valuable players.
Put him
Put
anywhere.
him anywhere. I
He'll get
think
it done.
he's obviously safe. So Parsonen.
Go Friars.
Oh
Providence
yeah, that's
called
right.
Friar.
That's right.
Yeah.
Parsonen,
Go
Tomasino,
Friars.
Weisblatt, LaRue. Who's give me your two.
I want to see. I think Parsonen might be bullying his way into this lineup, and so I think he's going to battle it out with Tomasino for a third line spot, and then I think I do like one of those guys is going to be out, and I think Jankowski with McCarron and Smith is going to be the
Yeah,
fourth line. But I'm not sold on that. I am. That is
yeah,
penciled in. So I think Parsonen is proving right now, but I'm waiting for Tomasino to give us a little pop, give us something to talk about, and I think they're
yeah.
both right there. So the next couple preseason games are gonna
Yeah, and
show a lot.
I think Tomasino to me popped at the home game. I think actually both of them might have scored, Parson and Tomasino at
Yeah,
the
yeah.
against Tampa. But again, Tampa didn't dress a good lineup, but that's not their problem. But I think yeah, Parson and Tomasino, and it's always interchangeable. Play a good game. You got to earn your spot every night for those guys, and I like that because I think that competition is gonna bring out the best in both of these kids.
It also gives you a little bit of a rest, and so you're not playing when you're
Yeah, or struggling
tired.
mentally
You
or
take a little
whatever. Yeah.
reset. You're in and out of the lineup. It's
No,
not a bad
you
thing.
don't take it like that, but actually in the long run, you're right. I think that's especially for a young player.
Yeah,
So I think obviously with the
yeah.
waiver things, LaRue and Weisblatt will probably start in Milwaukee. Um, okay, we did that. It's going to be fun to watch, and I think both of those players, though Parson and Tomasino, I think are going to take big strides this year. That's just my gut.
Yeah.
Yep.
Looking forward to it.
All right, let's
I
get
hope
some
so.
fun stuff. Skillsie, you brought this one up, and I think it's good. Just good old fashioned fun. And we're obviously, what is it, 4 weeks into football season. So we've had some.
Where
We're in. We're in it.
you
So
go ahead.
Skillsie wanted to talk about favorite football foods at the parties at your Sunday soiree, your gathering.
This is coming on the heels of my cleanse where I fasted for a day and I've eaten vegetables and moved on to I'm trying to move on to, non-processed meat, steamed fish, steamed chicken, just clean up
Yeah.
my diet a little bit, take
Mm-hmm.
care of my body, take care of myself. And well, of course, the second you fast, all you think about is food. And Monday Night Football is on, and I'm going, geez, wouldn't it be nice to have some football food? So we got a top five, the
The
Bagchucker top five.
Chucker top 5 football foods. This is could be at your not tailgate. It would just be at the house party kind of get together gatherings.
Yeah, wherever you decide
Okay,
to
so
watch. All right,
number
number
5.
five,
I'll start
Mace.
with my number 5, which is boring, and I have reasons for every one of my selections. So
Yeah,
the
of course.
first one would be just like the pre. When you get somewhere, like, hey guys, oh hey, how's it going? Yeah, you're getting all the, oh yeah, nice to see you. Is like, yeah, here's beers are over here, blah blah blah. Oh, we brought you this, put it on the. but then there's the cheese and crackers. You know, like you can kind of like while you're even doing that, you can kind of say, "Oh, I'm a little bit hungry. I was saving up for this," and you can just kind of grab a cheese and crackers and kind of like eat and like talk at the same time. You know, once you get your beer, your drink, or whatever you're having, you can kind of like do that simultaneously. So that would be my number 5.
Hand foods. That's a theme with me. Hand
Yeah.
foods is a theme with me. And now, are you talking a kikuchi board?
Yeah, the
Are you
kikuchi.
looking
When
for
we have Lindsay
a
on, we'll get more into
charcuterie
that and
board?
the backstory because that's what we call it in our world now. We don't call it charcuterie.
In our world, it's a
It's a kikuchi
kikuchi
board.
board after what
Yeah.
is it? Hard
Last
Knocks
season.
with the
Was that 2
player
seasons
was
ago
talking
or
about his.
last year?
Was it last season? I think it was maybe
Yeah,
2 seasons ago.
the
The
kikuchi
kikuchi
board.
board.
But yes, that's exactly what I'm
Yeah, you
talking
like
about.
that.
And plus you have
Just a little
options, like,
nibble,
do you
just a
want
little
pickle? Do
nibble
you
here
just
and
want,
there.
like, 1 cracker, like, 1 cheese? Like, we get more into that later, all the little or do you wanna do a double decker
Yeah.
where you're like it'll it'll
You're not
take
a
you
savage just eating a block of
no, no,
cheese, are you?
absolutely not. I like the
Yeah,
mix.
you gotta have a little
Yeah,
cracker with it.
but you could
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
like,
Yeah,
cheese
you
and
put it together.
meat with a pickle with no cracker. You know what I mean? Like, well,
Yeah.
that's a topic
Yeah,
for
yeah.
another day. Okay, what's your
Carb
5?
conscious. Yeah. So going with that same theme, I like nachos. Now, let me preface this. I don't want to be digging through a pile of cheese and digging trying to find that perfect jalapeno with a bit of chicken or whatever it is underneath. Like I want them individually
Yeah.
done. And if you ever have nachos like where they're just laid out on a big pan, you know, they could just be cheese and jalapenos. Boom, that's it. It's perfect. Just grab that bite. You're watching football. You're not worried about where you're digging. You can just slam that baby
So
home, and
is
that's
it
nice.
is it individually done on the tortilla chip or
Yes.
whatever they put it on?
So
No,
not a
not a pile,
pile,
like,
a
yeah, they're
spread.
separate. So there's and then is there
Yes.
like then how do you do this though? Can you just dip in the, like, salsa or the sour cream?
Yep.
So it's
You
just
can
like
do.
it's
Yeah.
football,
It's
right? So,
all
you can
played
just
out, and for the most part, you put everything on it. You get the
oh, you
salsa
just
right
do
on it,
little
and you
like,
do
little
everything.
spoons of each on
Yeah, you're just topping off a
okay,
chip and eat the chip, and it's good.
okay,
It's just easy.
okay.
It's easy. But that's
Yeah.
I'm all handheld, right? Not my number 4, cocktail
Oh,
weenies,
yeah.
or as you call them in
Pigs in a
Canada, what do
blanket.
you call them? Eggs in a blanket. You know, just that flaky dough around a beautiful little
Yep.
hot dog is like just now dip that bad boy in some mustard. That's like, or like you could spruce it up and get some nice mustard, whatever you want to do. That's
Yep,
dynamite.
that's my number 2. So I'll put that, that's my number 2 just because I think to me it's like a
I could
yeah,
have put
right?
it up
It's
further,
hard
to be
to,
honest.
can really rank them because I could have
Yeah,
interchanged that with other ones, but I have it written down as my number 2 just because that's probably the only time I'll ever eat it is at a football thing and people make them all the time. Or like
yeah. I'm not a nacho
yeah,
guy for the most part.
but
You
you
know,
don't see the
I,
pigs in a blanket a lot. They're not out there.
yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm not a nacho guy. I'm not a
Yeah.
pig in a blanket guy. I'm like,
Yeah,
it's only
yeah,
for
exactly.
football.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, all right, my
yeah.
number
I'm with you.
4 and it's just, I think we're the same because we like to be in the conversation. I don't want to like get a plate and then go sit in a corner, and whatever, and like
Yeah.
make it a big thing. So like chicken tenders, I'll just like grab because I don't necessarily need sauce, or I could just have a little bit of. I always want hot sauce, but if I just want something where I'm just like I'm a little bit hungry and like I want something a little more hearty. I had a couple cheese and crackers when I first got there and greeted Skillsie. Had a couple
Mhm.
laughs and all that kind of thing. But I'm like, now I'm actually a little bit like, I'm kind of a little bit hungry.
And you can quantify that as a meal.
Exactly.
You know, like if you get a good sized
You're,
chicken
yeah,
tender,
yeah.
you're
You're
right.
like, that's
Yep.
like, but if I grab one, I'm like, that'll like do me for a while. Like, even if the game started, I'm like, you know what? I don't really want to eat till halftime. I can have one in the first quarter, couple plays, like
Mhm.
just grab a chicken tender and I'm good. And I don't need wings. I know that's, on yours, I think later on, but wings for me, I love wings, but it's like that's like a process. So for now, this is like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
like chicken tenders. I love and I feel like extremely satisfied after a good chicken tendy.
Yeah, a nice
Yep.
salty mix there too. Yeah, you can put a
Yeah,
little
like
spice
whatever
on
you
it,
want,
and
ranch
we're
or do you
doing
want
all
hot
right.
sauce,
Yeah,
barbecue? Like you can whatever mood you're in,
that go,
right?
that kind of goes along with my number 3 is a cheeseburger
Oof.
slider.
Yeah.
or any slider, a buffalo chicken slider, any slider is good. Like, but specifically a cheeseburger slider when it's got just a little bit of ketchup, mustard, a little slice of pickle. It's like don't overdo it.
Yeah.
Just like clean and neat, and it just that it's a two biter, and it feels so good. It just like bam. It just you're not
Yeah.
slamming a whole burger. It just the little
Yeah,
bang bang.
that's a great one. I don't have that on my list actually, and I actually love that. I'm actually disappointed in myself that I did not put that on my list because I love burgers. And you're right, the little sliders. It's not like a big, greasy burger where you have to like, crap's falling all out of the place, and you're like, man.
Yeah.
You just
Oh,
same thing.
I
You don't even
hate
need a plate.
overdone
You
burgers.
probably should if you're at someone else's house, but you don't really need. You can just pick it up 2 bites, and
Yeah.
you had a burger. You had a
Boom.
burger. That's a great one. My number 3. That was it. Was that your number 3?
Yep,
Okay,
that
my
was my
number
number 3.
3.
If I ever see you eating a slider watching football, I'm gonna that's not your top
Yeah, and
5,
you know
you
what?
don't
You're right.
deserve it.
You're right. I have to. Yep,
I'll
I
call you
have to
right out.
reflect on that because this one
I'll
might
steal it from you.
actually make you even think that even more. Even though this is one that I actually do look forward to, that I don't eat a lot unless somebody ordered these for appetizers, but fried pickles. I don't know if they're always at football parties, but when they are, like some people, because you got to, it's an effort. You can either bake them or fry them or whatever. But if you're at a restaurant and you have all this stuff, fried pickles are like a staple. And every time I don't eat like that anymore, except for these situations. So, and I never pass up a fried pickle, and I'll dip it in whatever it is, ranch or like spicy. Like, so
No.
I'm always like, oh, pickle. It's kind of a fruit.
Yeah, if it's on the table, it's in my mouth. If that's anywhere
Yeah.
near me, I'm
Yeah.
slamming a pickle chip. Yeah,
They're
that
unreal.
like
Like,
foam.
how are they so good? I don't think I realized that.
I think the marketing people have done a great job with that because I don't ever
Oh,
remember that, but now it
and
seems
I
like
love
they're
them. And
everywhere.
I think it's just,
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, that's my number 3. And again, finger quick.
And can we add it? Is it okay to add in the
Oh,
fried
absolutely. Yeah.
jalapeno,
Category.
maybe like a little fried okra, or like
Yeah.
they throw
Jalapeno
in
poppers are actually
different
up
little
there too
peppers,
because
or
I got the cheese
like
and stuff. But
like they put those in there, so you think you're having a pickle, and then it's like, got you.
and it's just as good. You're like, what is this? You have to investigate. Ask the
And it's,
host or ask the
it was
what
amazing.
are these? Oh, the okra? Oh my God, these are amazing. You're like,
And then there's a spicy
oh yeah.
aioli, or there's always like a different. I don't know why fried pickles always get like a special different sauce that's
And I
kind of
feel like they're
spicy and
better
good.
than
I don't know
come on
what it is.
anything else. Like you don't get that when you get chicken tenders. You get ranch, barbecue sauce, hot sauce, ketchup,
Yeah,
pretty much, or mustard. I don't know, but
yeah.
yeah, I agree.
All right, what are we on? Number 2?
Yeah, number 2. My number 2 already talked about pigs in a blanket. Yeah, just staple. Good.
Oh yeah, that's
What's
right.
yours?
Solid,
Yep.
solid, good one. Here's where I flipped the script a little bit because I I love
Mm.
pizza, and sometimes you just need a slice of pizza, but grabbing a slice isn't a big deal, but I do love the little bagel bite pizzas, or French bread pizza sliced up, so you can just grab a little bit of it, or like the pizza donuts,
Oh
the
yeah,
garlic
love
knot
those. Yeah.
pizza, like those, any form of pizza put into a smaller package, I'm a big fan of, and I feel like it kind of elevates your game, right? Like it gives a little girth to your, like it is some
Absolutely. Yeah.
substance,
Like we
You're
talked about all these things. If people are serving full pieces of pizza and you have one slice, well, maybe I can't have the chicken tenders anymore, or maybe I can't have the slider. Like
exactly.
it's a lot, right? The crust and the
Yeah,
cheese, and it's a hearty thing even with one slice. But if you do, that's the key to
yeah,
the football or the house party thing, is small things, which is the pizza's a delicacy. If I can have a little whatever, like you said, like a little cracker, whatever the heck, with just the pizza, not cracker, then I'm golden, and I like that one too.
all
All
right,
right,
number 1.
my number 1, and this is the one where I will. Yeah,
It's
hold
a
on a
drum
sec
roll, I don't
here.
know if you can hear that.
Oh, that's for a joke.
Just
That has a little drum thing. I'm trying to use this, figure this out, but that's before the punchline.
that sums up our podcast, buddy. But bump.
There, we got that
There it
thing.
is.
Okay, number 1 coming up.
Premature hornulation.
Pete Weber reference right there. legend.
Weber
We'll get into those
reference.
guys more, but my number one for sure, and this is the one where I'll actually take a plate, and I actually will combine, like, if those little fried pickle chips or whatever kind of crackers I deem, because another one we didn't get into is, like, there's so many different crackers now, and usually you try a couple different with the cheese and whatever, and they're like, oh my god, that cracker was like,
Yeah.
and then you go back to that cracker every time once you figured out the best one.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you figure out
Yeah.
your
So
your
sometimes I'll
go-to.
put, so it's buffalo chicken dip. That's the one I just,
Mm.
that's my crack, I think, at is I will hunt that down, and I'll strategically wait. Like, I always save the best for last. So I'll have like a little bit of everything that we talked about. And then, like, let's
Yeah.
say it's halftime, and I'm gonna get a
Yeah. You
plate. Then
tease
I'm gonna get a
yourself.
plate, and I will go in the corner and just, like, it'll be a,
You slow
yeah,
played it. You
you
slow
slow
playing
play it, but
yourself.
I'll get like
It's
fried chicken
veteran.
picks or whatever. Like, sometimes if they have like sausage or stuff like that, or like whatever, like the best crackers.
Wait. You do a fried pickle
I
into the
will. Yep.
buffalo
Yep.
chicken,
That's like a double treat.
but
Yep.
into the dip.
Yep.
That's
It's savage.
that is
Yeah, but I'll
savage.
do
That is.
everything. I
I
know.
don't know about that. I'm gonna
It's
have to
just
try that. I mean, I like both. I'm a huge fan of the
yeah.
buffalo chicken dip. I'm
Together, it might
huge
not
fan.
seem like it goes well together, but it does. It does, and I promise you.
I don't
Yeah.
see why they wouldn't. That's a
Yeah,
savage
and then
move. I like it.
it'll be either
I
like, I'll go, scooping it like nice and like whatever, or just like if I've like, I'll just eat the buffalo chicken dip on its own. Like, I don't care. I'll get all the stuff that I have. Like, if there's like sausage or meats and stuff, I'll
yeah.
mix that like with the dip as well. So, like, everything, the dip will go on everything that's on my plate. It'll be eaten with the dip. Vegetables, like whatever, like celery, like everything.
Yeah.
That's the one. That's my number one.
Oh, the celery is a spot. That
Yep.
hits it right there. You got the cold from the
Oh,
celery, the hot from the dip. That
yep.
solidifies. That's
That's
solid
my number one.
and
Yeah,
healthy.
well,
Good for
I
you.
don't know if the dip's
Good for
good,
you.
but
All right.
it is good.
All right. My number one, just because it's just, I mean, because I'm American, is wings,
Yeah.
buffalo wings. And I know I don't want to make a mess, but for this, give me a heaping plate of buffalo wings, and I will disappear from a party and hide out in the back and just dummy wings like it's my job. And as soon as I want it hot enough that it hurts, and I get the nose
Oh,
sweat,
yeah.
and I like, I want to feel it. I want to dig in and go after it, and I want an ice cold beer
Oh,
that
like frosted
just
mug,
like
just
washes
like,
it
oh,
down. It touches
yeah.
my lips. I want to get a little bit of the sauce on the beer, so like I can see it.
Like, you want the
You know,
whole
like
every
I want that full experience, and I will
yeah.
take time with that.
You want all
I will
6
take time with that.
senses.
That's not
Yeah.
a smash and grab thing. That's yeah. It's not like the nachos or the cocktail weenies. I want to focus on that, and that's usually like you said.
Yeah.
You slow play it.
You're
Everything is
building
slow
up to
play
the
until the
wings. So
wings
you're
come.
like, that's why you want the pizza bites, so you don't
Oh,
like get too full, so you can like have a good healthy plate of wings and just enjoy it. Yeah,
yeah.
I love that.
Beautiful,
Wings are
beautiful. Well,
amazing.
I appreciate your top 10. The fried pickles
It's underrated.
you threw that out me, and I feel like I
Well,
kind of
it's
should have had that.
underrated, and the one I'm not embarrassed about. I was just trying to go through my routine is like the cheese and crackers is, but I appreciate a good. It's
It's pretty
simple, but
simple, to be honest with you. But
I'm a simple guy.
you're from
Yeah,
Red Deer,
I don't need much. I don't need much.
that's that's all you give me
But
some
it's
cheese
also
and
like
crackers.
at the certain times of like the party is like the beginning. I'm like, I'm not going for any of the the top three there. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
waiting.
Yeah. You like what you like.
Yeah,
Don't
no, I'm
apologize
not. I'm
for it,
not.
Mace.
I'm just. It's boring.
Be who you
It's
are.
boring.
You're a Bagchucker.
Yeah.
You're a lot
Thanks,
of
buddy.
things, but you're
I
not
needed
anyone
that
else.
today. I needed that.
You're Mace, and be
I
Mace. Be
needed that
proud to be
today,
Mace.
guys. Thanks, Skillsy. All right, folks. That I think is a wrap.
That's it.
We did 53 minutes.
I feel like if I'm anxious to see once these are aired and when people get the feedback. This is basically like hanging out with us on the
This is
road,
what we
right?
talk
I
about. This
mean,
is literally what we'll talk
this
about.
is
Yeah.
us sitting at dinner or sitting, having a beer wherever we are, sitting around the rink waiting for the game to start, and we're just this is what we talk about. So now we're just putting it down, and let's see if people
I hope you
like
do.
it.
If you don't, again, it's apologize and you can move on. And
sorry,
we are who we are. And you're right, Skillsie, and
we is who we
is who he is. And so if you do have any suggestions, reach out to us on our socials. We'd love to know, because we ultimately want to make it good for everybody that's tuning in. If you like it, we appreciate it. Any suggestions, again, would be welcomed.
Love to hear what your favorite foods
and put
are
down, like, if you're
too.
like, if you think, Mace, cheese and crackers, are you kidding me? Call me out on that. Call Skillsie on the wings number one. Just go, like, really?
I was trying to be nice to you because you're my friend, but I'm not sure.
No, that's okay.
Nice,
but you're right. That's just, I'm being honest. I'm like, what do you want me to just pick what I don't think? I don't think we want that, but it's okay to disagree. And we'll do a lot of that. We'll do a lot of agreeing, and we'll do it all here. Okay. So if you guys haven't yet, please subscribe, rate, review, all the things that they tell you to do when you're first starting a podcast, and give us feedback. I think that's the most important thing. We both really want that. We want to do a good job for you guys and thrive under that's
under
important.
feedback.
Yeah, we want to know. We want to get better. We want to talk about what you want to hear, obviously. So let us know, and we'll continue to try to make this better every single time. All right.
Perfect.
Cheers, everyone. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Mace. Check on.